Good day and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, before I begin with this video, I'd like to ask you to please leave a like, subscribe, or comment on my videos. And if you don't like my video, please leave a dislike. So, moving on with where I'm supposed to be getting onto the next battle cruiser for building when you jump in. Now, along with the building of the next battle cruiser, I'm going to be describing its attributes. Now, this is kind of a catchy one because I am a Kaldari main and this is a Kaldari vessel, but I'm not going to be able to use it because I don't use the right weapons for this particular vessel. So let's get into it. Okay, I'm actually opening the market first. Okay, so starting off with the Ferox Battlecruiser. The Ferox Battlecruiser is selling for about 342,000 ISK, and it is a Kaldari Battlecruiser, and its attributes are on railguns. So let's get into it. Now, its roll bonus, as you can see straight off the back, is 25% on railgun range and 25% on fall off range. It has one command burst slot module, 8 medium railgun damage, 8 medium railgun optimal range, 5%. Okay, that's per level of advanced railgun upgrades. And Battle Cruiser command gives you 5 scan resolution. Alright, let's look at the weapon slots before we go into the basic info. It has 1 drone, 6 weapon slots, 3 mid, 5 low, and it has 3 weapon rigs and 3 engineering rigs. So let's go into the basic info now. Okay, overall defense, it has 25,000 basic defense, 177 meters per second velocity, making it one of the slower vessels, output of 988 megawatts, and a 3000 joule capacitor, 950 cubic meter cargo hold. Okay, so let's open the basic info. Okay, so going into it, this is once more a shield tank. Kaldari is shield tanking vessels, weaker armor, right? So obviously if you're going to run a defensive build, it's going to be a shield tank. Highly unlikely that you're going to run an armor tank, and even some players have been trying to work on a better build for their battle cruisers to make them better usage of them so they can move around faster. I've actually only started looking at that. I never even thought it was a possibility to do what they're doing, but it is weakening them up a lot more and opening them up to bigger attacks. Okay, so alright, let's go down. Capacitor charge rate 14.53 for 3056 joules. It's a little bit faster than the Cyclone, and it's a little bit stronger on the hold for power. So it has more power and it recharges slightly faster. It has the same amount of recharge time as the Cyclone. You're gaining more power, and the reason for it is the railgun uses more power overall in combat. While something like a missile launcher uses negligible amounts, you can even count it as not using power. Okay, target lock standard 6, everything is basic on that, and velocity, as I said, it's very slow. So if you were going to increase the speed on this with micro warp drive and afterburner, you might be able to use it in mission combat. That's because some people have told me they can use it in mission combat using a micro warp drive and afterburner. However, it eats through the power way too fast. They can't stay in battles longer than their caracals, and they can't use it longer than the other vessels. So that's the catch when they're using the speed build on the battle cruisers. I'm not sure if it's a Ferox. I know that one of the guys has a Cyclone, and everybody else is running Maulers in the basics for defensive builds. And those aren't battle cruisers, those are cruisers. So overall, this is the breakdown on the ship. So let's go back into trait description. Does it have any? No, it doesn't have any extra boost that I didn't think of. Okay, so using this vessel, what are going to be your advantages? You have extra range compared to anybody else who's running a medium railgun. So you're gaining that range from your advanced research, and you're gaining it on this vessel. Plus, you're going to gain even more range as you increase your research. So if you had research 5, it will be 5 times 5, 25% extra. So 50% extra range on your weapon with this vessel. So that's going to give you quite a nice range to fire with. But here's where the catches come for Caldari. In Caldari, in the start, our main issue ship was the Caracal. And moving forward, the main issue ship is the Ferox. If you want to be faction loyal, you're able to run your missiles on this vessel, and you're going to have to start learning railguns. And as I said before, research is very important. It's better to master one set of research and then come back than master all of your research across the whole board and master it out only when the game reaches the final levels. And I can explain why that is so, but I've already explained it before, and I think it will just be wasting time in the video. I'm trying to make this video short. I don't like making it go over 12 minutes because that's a bit too long for these videos, and my last few have been very long, even with all of my cut down notes. Okay, so moving on to how you're going to use this vessel. If you're going to use it in a fleet, it can only sit in the front, which is one of the worst positions for the ship to be in because of the fact that it's using railguns. Railguns are really good up close. And this here won't be your tank because it has to be the second from the front. Your tank will be something that is running lasers, or it's running something that has all-round damage like Cyclone. So if you're running a battle cruiser fleet, you're going to run cruisers in the middle for support, and you can run battle cruisers everywhere else. Your Cyclone can be used in the front for a damage tank, or either your Harbingers, your Prophecies, or your Myrmidon can be used in the front for tanking damage and destroying ships. Okay, so let's go in a little bit more into what you're going to have to think about when you're using this vessel. So overall, the Ferox isn't a bad vessel. If you look at it, it has a massive shield. That means it can be used as a shield tank. The only catch is it can't strip away shields on other vessels. With 6 weapon slots, you're going to need to recruit yourself 6 medium class railguns. Now let me just go into the railguns. Oh, so there's only one. I actually had a ton of these. Okay, so this is what you're going to need. Let's look at the range. Optimal range is 18 kilometers. Now let's add a 25% boost to it. Overall, that just takes you just over 22 kilometers out with the best range with just the standard. Add another 25% to that. You will reach somewhere near 29 kilometers out with this vessel. Now, if you look at the this is research. If you look at the damage type that it deals kinetic and thermal. That means that this is good against armor and it's slightly good against shields. So it isn't getting tanked totally by the shield, it isn't busting right through the shield, it isn't getting tanked by the armor, it isn't busting right through the armor either. So it's going to be good to use as an all-round damage dealer. It's in the middle slots and it can be used for getting through a ship quite easily. Now, the reason why you're not going to throw it in the front of your fleet is if any ship can do EM damage, they can do way more damage than the ship. And its recharge time on firing is 4.46 seconds. With your advanced research added into it, if I'm correct, you can reduce it by 10%. So that will be a full 4 seconds. That means you can hit 3 volleys in the time it will take a Cyclone from a distance to hit a ship. And the Cyclone can be pushed more back to run missiles instead of running a rapid missile system, because as I said, it's not really the best for taking on a higher orbit. But when you're running in a fleet with just battle cruisers, you could run the higher orbit and run more medium slot debuffs. Okay, so let's stop getting off topic and let's go back in. Okay, so talking about your ship, what is the first thing that you're going to think of putting on in terms of damage reduction or damage control for your ship? Shield hardener, shield extender, shield booster. That's just three standard to make yourself a tank build. Those are going to be your best in slot at the bottom, but that's only for the tank shield build, which works good with this vessel. Now, even though I said these are the best for the ship, for another player it may not be the best because, say for example, you have expert level all in your armor. Although I have explained the risk with these ships and running it in the armor, because dropping below 25%, you're going to go right through the shield and into your hull before you get away. And if they warp disrupt you when you're about to leave, you're going to lose your battle cruisers, which are 300 million plus and cannot be insured. Okay, so those are my reasonings behind telling people not to play certain vessels. It's not that it's my preference, it's the most reasonable. And I deduce the most reasonable by looking at all the aspects of a ship. Now, for example, if you had a destroyer with an armor build, an armor tank build, your destroyer can't take it on the armor. It's going to take two shots and it's going to warp out of there. And even if it's in disruptor range, it's going to get out of disruptor range and warp away. You have that big chance. With the cruiser, it still has enough speed. 3 or 4 seconds means you take 2 or 3 hits in the time it takes you to align yourself, and it's not enough to go through your complete armor if you're armor build. So from 25%, you'll be something like 2% by the time you're ready to warp. And if you're unlucky and they warp disrupt you, you'll take maybe another 2 hits into your armor before you warp away. Now let's reverse it around to battle cruiser. You're gonna take about 10 hits to your armor before you align. Now, 10 hits to your armor means your armor is totally gone, you're in your hull. You're already halfway through your structural power, your hull damage is at 50%. If they warp disrupt you, you finished. Because once they warp disrupt you, you now need to start evading fire or take the full damage on your armor, not your armor, on your hull, and get destroyed. And that's where the problem comes in because you're already at that point. That's how come I don't suggest tank armor builds for battle cruisers as yet. Maybe at a later stage when you have mastered battle cruiser command, engineering, and all the attributes, and the speed of the vessel is a little bit higher, it would be more worth it. Okay, so going back to this whole build that I'm currently describing, what is the next thing to think about when it comes to your low slots? As I said, there was the three shields, and then there was the three shield slots, uh, and you can run it with a micro warp drive and afterburner to give it speed. But if you do that, the capacitor drains way too quickly. You won't even be able to sustain a battle. It literally will finish your entire capacitor in less than 2 minutes. So 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out. It's going to be a continuous jump in, jump out for any battle, and you will do a big amount of damage, but it's going to be reduced on those factors. Okay, so let's move on to what are the other options for that slot to make this the best build for you. A damage control unit. A damage control unit allows you to tank way more damage on your vessel, and because it's bigger and it's more slow, giving it a little bit of tankiness is uh, a good idea. And the next thing over to put onto this in the next slot would be afterburner. Your other option is to increase the firepower of the vessel. And remember, in the start, you want to run those shield builds. You're not going to go for glass cannons because you are literally already a glass cannon. So, after your, if you're not going to put a damage controller, you can put a ballistics control unit, or was it a tracking computer? One of the two extends the range at which you can fire. Now, that will give you the extended range when it comes to fighting, and it's not a very expensive component. They're quite cheap in the marketplace still. Remember, at current, everything's prices have shot up. Let me just open this to show you. Prices have started to climb. And right now, with the introduction of, oh wait, this one is still cheap. with the introduction of high end weapons, they are now going to cost you something like um, 250,000, 350,000 just for one of these weapons. And that's where this weapon price should be as of right now. And in a few weeks, you should expect it to reach 1 million and 2 million, because even though people are farming it, people are going to be losing vessels to power belts for more damage. Example, if I wanted to increase the power, heat sink for faster recharge time on my weapon, so I get a quick burst where I'm going to blow right through weapon. Ballistic control unit, tracking computer, that's going to increase my velocities, increase my range, increase my firepower. I'm not sure if I got the right low slots. Let me just go into it. Oh, this is mud, sorry. Mud slots are going to be your standard two Weber fires and a NOS energy drain. Weapon upgrades. This is the right place. It doesn't matter which one I'm looking at. Damage bonus. Yeah. This here works on all weapons. Also works on all weapons. Also works. Ballistics control unit. Let me just double check this. Okay, so no, ballistics control won't help you. So it will be all of those upper weapon. Let me see, the tracking computer, if I'm right, is also missile only. Oh no, tracking computer will help you with this. So it was a tracking computer. Missile guidance says it in the name. It's just for missiles. Drone navigation is just for drone. Omnidirectional is only for drones. So those are your options. And there is another option on a low fitting. If you're going to go for a glass cannon, despite me explaining why it's a bad idea, a cloaking device. And although these are really good units to throw on your ships, cloaking a big vessel and just coming out in the middle of a fight when you're way too close to someone doesn't mean you're going to win. Example, even with all this firepower, if you take on a Mauler, you're most likely going to lose and the Mauler is going to win, or the Mauler. And that's how it will most likely play out, because some people can have upwards of 60,000 um, damage, 60,000 defense on it, with most of it being in the shield. You hitting it with your full power on the shield in less than 2 seconds, a hit with quadruple your damage, you're not going to make anywhere near 40,000 damage in the time they're going to turn on their weapons on you, and they're going to have EM weapons most likely that's going to tear your shield down in a matter of seconds. You don't have any damage buffs or bonuses. They're going to be running Weber fires, and they're going to be running NOS, and they're going to be running what is this here? Warp disruptors if they PvP builds on those maulers with tank build. They're gonna stop you, blow you up, and you're going to lose the 300 million in an instant if you try and pull a cloak on a strong vessel. You definitely beat a Caracal. You'd beat all of the other Navy issue vessels very easily, but you don't stand much of a chance against the other elite vessels that have opened with T6 and T7. I will be going through those vessels at a later date. Okay, so as I said, your mid slot's gonna be double Weber fires and NOS. Using it as a PvP build, you can go Weber fire, NOS, and you can throw in a warp disruptor, but it's not really gonna help you enough, because most ships are gonna be faster than you. Anybody who's playing smart and keeping in the cruiser, they're going to fly laps around you, and they're gonna bust right through your shield if you're going for glass cannon build. Because I can do, what was it, 2,000 per hit every 10 seconds. That's 10, 20, 30, 40, 40 seconds, and your shield will be down against me. That's because you'll be running a full glass cannon build. I can regen 6% of my shield every second. I can upgrade it by 40% with my shield extender. Yesterday, when I was attacked by 3 vessels, they only took me down by 20% when I jumped away, and they still weren't doing well enough to take me out. If I had turned my fire on them, they would have lost, guaranteed. But that's just the show of it. If you focus your research in the right spots and your ship is strong enough, you can take down just about anybody else. And playing a stupid build means you're going to get destroyed. And I've passed my time that I wanted on this video. Okay, I'm gonna call it here, and I am going to release another video in between my um, best builds for the battle cruisers on how to run a transport fleet. Now, I I haven't seen anybody running transport fleets, but we're reaching a stage where billions of resources need to be moved up and down between facilities in the bigger corps, and this is something that's going to need to be made. And I'm going to be running a transport fleet build and a PvP fleet for taking on these transport fleet builds. So in other words, it's going to be a for and against. I'm going to give you how to do the counter to that build and what you need to do in the grand total to trap them when they're running through with their fleets, with their transport vessels. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching.